Hello, I am Flowerhand, and I was the creator, or I am the creator of A Flower for You. It's kind of my debut album, but we'll get more into that. Anyway, without further ado, let's get into it. So before we go down the songs, I kind of wanted to talk about my thoughts on the album. Right here I have, this is the album picture. It's a neon rose. My sibling drew it for me, and it was my dad and I went into Photoshop and we did some filters on it, and it turned out to be pretty cool. A Flower for You was a project I made in the summer of 2021, and I just had recently gotten FL Studio 20, and I was trying to figure out how it worked, and eventually I was able to make some cool noises with it. I started just making. The first song I made was just messing around, but eventually I started a project, and I decided I wanted to make something calming, and so I put in some instruments. It was kind of like a organ sounding instrument. I forgot what it's called. I think it's called Praise in the Flex. I don't know. It's just really just technical, but I started making a calming little song, and I was trying to go for a vibe of Interstellar. Surprisingly, I was specifically thinking about the scene where Cooper is floating in space, kind of like passed out, and he's like floating around, and he's outside of Saturn, and in the background there's this really calming organ just playing these really high notes, and it's just this super peaceful song. And I was trying to go for something like that. I wanted to do something dreamy, and I wanted to show what I have, I guess. A few minutes later, I came up with the first song, Hold On. Yeah, let's talk about Hold On. Hold On was a really fun song to make. It only took me about an hour to make the whole entire thing. It was super simple. I just almost improvised. I was just kind of making all of these notes that sounded nice to me, I guess. Eventually it turned out to turn into Hold On, and I wanted to have this huge like explosion of instruments to set the mood of this album. So yeah, that's Hold On. It kind of goes into this huge bass and this huge like almost movie like song, and it turned out pretty well. And that same day I actually made Sliver of Light. So let's talk about Sliver of Light. Sliver of Light was a really fun project, and it actually only took me about 4 to 5 hours from start to finish. I started just with this instrument, and I was on the keyboard, and well, this was before I actually had a keyboard. I was on the actual keyboard, and I was using the built-in kind of MIDI that it had, and I made some chords, and eventually I just whipped it all together, and it turned out really nice. A lot of the lyrics I made for Sliver of Light was actually pretty much just the first thing that came to my mind. For example, the first line, "I know you're waiting, just give me a moment to find you." I was kind of thinking about in mind just some of my recent events in my life kind of going on. "I know you're waiting, just give me a moment to find you." Don't make it sound creepy, but it's supposed to be for me almost like he's searching for someone, like a romantic interest, and he hasn't found them. He hasn't even met them yet, and she might be waiting for the same thing, and he's just looking for her. And you'll actually see that as a recurring theme in this album. that some of the lyrics say searching for you or I didn't find you, and that's supposed to not, it's not supposed to be completely literal. It's supposed to be more of a I haven't found her yet and I'm looking for her, the right one. I'm looking for the right one. And to me that was a really important emphasis on this entire album, and I wanted that to be an important thing. And yeah, so for Sliver of Light, it was kind of funny. I actually did not like it when I first finished. I recorded all the lyrics and I recorded everything and I slept on it and I completely forgot what this song sounded like. And so I woke up the next morning and I played it and I was like, this is the most unpredictable like mess of notes, and it was weird. It wasn't necessarily forgettable, but it was like I just didn't like it, and it was kind of hard for me. I wasn't going to delete the project, of course, but I decided to just let it sit on my computer for a super long time. And what happened, actually, is I was with my dad, and we were talking about it, because my dad actually liked the song, and he was kind of encouraging me to post it eventually, and I was kind of on the fence, and it started to grow on me a little bit, and there's actually a change in one of the lyrics. It was originally tan line on my shoulder, but I changed it to tan line on your shoulder because to us it meant kind of it told more of a story. It was just kind of a really fun change that I'm actually pretty proud of. Tan line on your shoulder. Who cares if we get much older? Eventually, I actually showed one of my friends, and they were like, dude, you have to post this. This has to be like, you need to post this. And so I was like, you know what, fine. So I posted it, and it actually ended up doing really, really well. And I was like, okay, well, this is, if the audience likes it, then maybe I should expand on this a little bit more. And so, yeah, so that's Sliver of Light. The next song was News. It's a really short, I think it's 56 seconds long. News was a song that kind of changed moods, and because Sliver of Light fades out and it goes right into News, and it's this super mellow, not necessarily depressing, but like kind of like sad, just like a nightlight kind of feel. And one of my favorite things about it is that it's in 3/4 time. It's like a waltz, like 1 2 3 1 2 3. It's just a really, really nice song, and it's just sweet and short, and it just kind of hits different. News was definitely a change in the mood, and it definitely sets up what the next songs were going to be. And to me, this was supposed to be symbolic. There's no lyrics in the song if you haven't listened to it, but to me it's saying that news just comes out of the blue. It comes on a Tuesday afternoon. It doesn't hit you in this huge like climactic event, and you see it's just this thing that happens after work on just a normal day. And I kind of wanted to have that feeling, because right after Sliver of Light it completely changes moods and goes to News, and it's more of a sadder song. And so yeah, and it's pretty sweet and short, and it has just a nice synth, and it swells at the end, preparing for the next song. So the next song is Right Here. And let me tell you, that one is probably my personal favorite that I've made in A Flower for You. It's extremely dreamy, and I'm really proud of how it turned out. It is just such a dreamy song. It actually took me the longest to make. I got on my computer, and first thing I did was I put in this background wind effect, because it was just super dreamy, and I kind of wanted to have, I don't know, white noise almost, background noise is going on behind the song, and I started these chords, and it was just super dreamy. And I named one of the wavy part that goes, I was singing a little fast, but I named that the Dream Gaze, and that was kind of the highlight of the song for me. And I wrote about a moment that I had in real life that kind of hit different for me. It was a time where I was in this, we were getting together with some friends, and we went somewhere, and it was just so surreal. It felt so fake because it was so cool. It was just such a nice night, and we looked up at the stars, and we did all these fun things, and we played games, and we did a lot of fun stuff. And to me, I was like, this is really cool. And so I kind of used that as my motivation for this song, the lyrics, and I eventually started writing the lyrics. And the first lyric is sharing stories of my life. I can't believe you're right here. And that's kind of self-explanatory. I feel like you're talking to this person and you can't believe it's happening. It's not real to you. It feels fake. Then I go on to the dreaming ethereal moonlight, and it's just describing the scenery and what it's feeling deep inside. And then it goes into the dream gaze wavy synth that I put in. So proud of that. It's so good. I really like how it turned out. The bridge was really hard for me to come up with. I kept coming up with all these different things, but they felt really cheesy to me. They didn't feel like it really fit, and it took me a few months to finally get around to coming up with a decent bridge. And so I was just saying, like, how have you been? It's been so long. The stars look nice. Is this a dream? Is this kind of going through his head? He's talking to this person he hasn't seen for a while, and it's just such a surreal moment for him. And when I mean him, I mean me. But yeah, and I kind of exaggerated a few things just for the sake of the story of the song. And in the end, I want it to stay more vague and not super specific, so the listener can apply it to themselves. You can apply it to yourself. Eventually, it goes back to searching for you. I can't seem to focus anymore, and that's another example of him, or the person in this album, who's still trying to find the right one, and he's starting to lose focus over it because he's so up in his head about it, and I don't know, he's just so focused on finding her, and almost to a point where it's not really healthy, I guess. And it's just kind of I feel like it's a very real thing, and I feel like it's a very real thing that people can relate to, is that some people can get overly obsessed over trying to find the right one, and that's what this whole song is about. And it's also about seeing it the wrong way. At the end, there's the phone part where he's talking on the phone, trying to, almost like a message, like he's leaving a message to her, and he's just saying, like, I just get super nervous around you, and I just have a hard time. I don't know, it's just been crazy. And he doesn't know how to tell her his feelings, almost. And it just fades out, and it just goes into the last part of the song, and the outro. This is fun. A lot of these songs actually have an outro, and the outro it's kind of like it was kind of experimental for me. I kept making all these different songs that were super short. It was just really short, like 30-second songs, and I wanted to include it somewhere. I wanted to show it because they felt really nice and dreamy to me. What I did is I actually thought about this song called Streems by the Symposium. It's Streems, and it's super fun song. You should totally go listen to it. And at the very end, there's an entire outro where it's just completely different style. It has nothing of what the song was about, and it's just kind of vibey. It's just vibey. And a lot of their other songs do the same thing, like Tony Stark or Poison. Poison's a really good one. And they all have this outro, and at first I was a little iffy, but I actually realized it kind of expanded on the song, and it made it feel like there was more than just that one song. It makes it feel like it's two songs rather than one. That's kind of a repetitive theme that I do. And the first one, yeah, shows up in Right Here. After Right Here is Canopy Bulb. And Canopy Bulb is an interesting story of how that one was made. Essentially, it was a long time ago. I was in the 9th grade, so a freshman in high school. I had a really, really bad day. It was just a super bad day, and I went home and I got on my phone, and I have the mobile version of FL Studio on my phone because I wanted to make some nicer noises. I didn't really know about GarageBand super well, but basically I sat down and I made a song, and I didn't stop until it was done, and it turned out to be Canopy Bulb. Originally I called it Safe, but I thought Safe was kind of a cheesy name to name a song. The reason I called it Canopy Bulb was because that was actually originally what the album was going to be called, was Canopy Bulb. Some people are confused, like, what does that even mean? And to me, I was just thinking that Canopy Bulb is like it's like a string of lights, and there's all these bulbs that are hanging. And to me, it's like a light bulb is representing an idea. And so when there's tons of thoughts and ideas, it's like you're up in your head and you're overthinking. So that's what Canopy bulb is. It's supposed to represent a panic attack in some ways, because it builds up and then it swells, and it midway through the song it kind of explodes into this huge like bliss of instruments and synths in it, and it has this like repetitive, I call it a drone sequence, I don't know what to call it, it's just pattern that just repeats itself over and over and over again, and it changes once or twice, but it's supposed to be vaguely unsettling but also calming. The version I put in A Flower for You was actually a remake. The original version sounded a lot different, and it still had the drone sequence of the it's actually just a grand piano but just filtered just through the built-in filters you can make, and it has the drone sequence that goes through it, and it has just a few instruments and the kind of the knocking as the like there's the like the kick and then the knock. So it's supposed to just kind of make it a little unsettling but not in a super spooky way kind of deal. But yeah, Canopy bulb was actually made many years ago, and I just decided, oh no, why not just recreate it and put it in this album. Fun fact, speaking of which, the original picture for the album was supposed to be a neon light bulb. It was supposed to be like a line drawn out light bulb. And I'm sorry, my chair keeps squeaking. But it was actually also just supposed to be an EP with like 4 or 5 songs in it. I wasn't originally intending for it to be an album. Like, in some ways, I still think it's more of an EP than an actual album to me personally. But I don't know, it's considered an album. So that's Canopy bulb, and I think a lot of people like it. On Apple Music, it's the #1 as of right now, with around 360 listens, which is really surprised me, to be honest. It's doing the best on Apple Music. Sliver of Light's doing the best on Spotify. I guess I should have said that earlier. It definitely surprised me when a lot of people liked Canopy bulb, because I thought it would be too repetitive, and I thought it would be not enough lyrics. But I guess people really liked it, so that's it was really reassuring. Midnight Rangers. I have mixed feelings about it. My standards for making music have definitely raised since Midnight Rangers and this album came out. And honestly, it kind of falls below the bar where I would have posted on Spotify. There's a few parts. I'm not gonna say exactly what it is, but there's a few parts that are just like, ugh, I could have done a little better. But yeah. But Midnight Rangers it goes back to News, the 56-second one, and to me, that's saying, it's kind of telling him that he's finally facing the reality of whatever this bad news was. And I kind of wanted to keep it vague. I didn't want to directly say what the news really was, because I wanted the listener to kind of apply it to himself or themselves. And Midnight Rangers is kind of like facing the facts of whatever happened, and facing the facts of, I guess you could say, maybe it was a rejection, or maybe it was just a missed opportunity or something that didn't turn out as that like you wanted it to. But yeah, Midnight Rangers, I thought it was definitely a really dreamy one. It has a lot of piano. It has a lot of layers onto it that are just super reverbed and dreamy. I actually came up with the lyrics when I actually heard some bad news. I was just at school a while back. It was, I don't know, I can't remember how long ago it was. I was just at school, and I heard one of my friends told me something that was just some disappointing news that I didn't really want to hear that day, and so I used that feeling to write some of these lyrics. And I was in English class, and I was just in the back, and we weren't really doing anything, and I wasn't really paying attention, but I was just kind of on my phone underneath my desk on my notes app, and I was just typing down all these lyrics, because I already had the tune in my head, because at this point I already made News, and I was thinking about what I was kind of feeling and how I could direct it towards a story, and how I could almost enhance it to a story. And I guess we could look at some of the lyrics. You know me dearly, watching you look at me. That's saying you know this person that you're interested in, but I mean, it's I can't really remember what I was originally feeling when I was writing this, but yeah, watching you look at me. Why can't I say it to you? Is it right or is it soon? He's getting up in his head whether he should say a bunch of stuff or whether he shouldn't, and it's just kind of you're here, then you're there. It's just confusing for him, I guess. And that's what Midnight Rangers is. And I actually named it Midnight Rangers because there have been some times where I was just kind of vibing in my car, and I was driving home from like a like this party or something, or just this thing we did with our friends, and I'm just driving home and it's like pretty late. It's like 11:45, and I decide that I'm just like, you know what? I'm just gonna go park somewhere. It was just a nice place to just think. I wasn't necessarily sad. I just thought it would be fun, and so I decided to name it Midnight Rangers. So yeah, that's Midnight Rangers. After Midnight Rangers is Route One, and oh, I this is one of my personal favorites. It's just super fun song. One of my favorite original soundtracks is actually the Stranger Things soundtrack, and it really just it hits me so deep. And I don't know why. It's just super vibey, and I really like it. I really like it. Um, but the reason why I called it Route One is because a long time ago, before I really started getting really into music and listening to music all the time, I actually didn't like verbal music. That's what I said. I think I was in the sixth grade, and the only thing I really listened to was the Interstellar soundtrack, and and actually I used to listen to a little dubstep. I will admit, and it wasn't super heavy dubstep, but it was just I thought it was catchy, and I thought it had dreamy vibes to it, and surprisingly, and Route One, it gave me a vibe of something I would have listened to in the sixth grade and something I would have liked in the sixth grade. And so it's Route One, it's like the root, like the root of the start of everything, I guess. And this is before I discovered that, there's more styles than just pop music. Now I like pop music, but I used to really not like it. Fun fact. And one of the first songs actually I discovered was Space Song by Beach House, and I heard that my brother showed it to me, and I was like, whoa, like you can actually have good music, like what the beans. And I was like and I was, yeah, and it really genuinely was a lifesaver, actually, to the point where actually I actually bought the record. So here's the record. I don't know, it's just a really sweet song, and I really like that style. Anyway, we're getting off track. Route One was definitely something that I would have liked, and it honestly, I'm so glad it gives off Stranger Things vibes to me, and I'm just really glad because I just wanted to be so connected. I wanted to show people that's kind of what I'm into, and so I put in Route One, and I put it right after Midnight Rangers because up to this point I was like, man, I'm kind of making a depressing album, and it was kind of like there's nothing wrong with the sad album, but at the same time I uh I didn't want people to think I was like depressed because I'm not really depressed, and and so I put in Route One as just kind of it wasn't a filler, but it definitely, I felt like it would be a nice song just to kind of lift up your spirits a little bit. After Route One was Exit 332, and this is a pretty awesome song. I actually really like it, and it started out with me just holding. I was just like, trying to find out, like, okay, I need something to conclude this album. I can't just like finish this. I can't just stop, or this EP. At this point, it was still an EP. And so I was messing around with some of the instruments, and I just was holding down a note, and I was like, it was already sounding dope. I was already sounding awesome, and so I kind of expanded on that, and I just started making all these like chords and just all this nice just dreaminess, I guess. And I just it was nice it was just a super cool song, and I wanted it to be climactic and dramatic. Something that really inspired me for a lot of these songs, actually, and especially this one, is this artist Dreams We've Had. He makes some really dreamy stuff, and some of it's upbeat too, which I really like. And I listen to some of his songs, and they're just the way they layer, the way he layers his music, the way he builds up and releases this amazing energy. I thought that was amazing. So I wanted to do something like that, and so yeah, I listened to some Dreams You've Had music, and I actually have another one of his records. I mean, you should totally give this a listen. It's called Everything in You. That's what it's called. It's a really, really, really nice album, and that was kind of a big inspire for A Flower for You, and it just has that really nice dreamy vibe. Some of the songs don't even have lyrics, kind of like some of the ones in A Flower for You. Yeah, so that album was definitely a inspire for me for just some of the specific songs, not necessarily for all of it, but
Here's my flower for you.
yeah, Exit 332 exits and it transitions into the next song, which is Let Go, which was the last one. And Let Go it was actually kind of I was trying to write lyrics for Exit 332, and I came up with all this stuff, but I didn't know how to put it into the song, and I realized, like, why don't I just say it, and like it will just be playing in the background. And so I made some more, and I was thinking of Hold On too, because it's Hold On then Let Go. That's like the whole story. It's the beginning and the end. And so I wanted to have a similar vibe, and I wanted it to kind of wrap back to the beginning of the album. So I got the same instrument that I used in Hold On, and I made just like this really calming, super high, kind of like the Interstellar thing again. And I put that in the background, and I read this poem to my microphone, and I was trying to get it a little bit lined up at least. And there's one lyric that a lot of people are confused about, that you're not alone, and I mean that both ways. And some people were kind of creeped out. It's like, what do you mean by that? Like, what is that supposed to mean? And so basically what it's supposed to mean is that one way is that you're not alone, as in you're not the only one feeling like this. You're not the only one who's gone through this. You're not alone. The other way is that you're not alone, as in your friends are here for you, and like you don't have to do this alone. And so that's what I mean when I said, and I mean that both ways. And so I read this poem, and again, he says, I didn't find you, but I think I can. And that's referencing, like, it's kind of a failed attempt almost on finding his true love, but he still thinks he can find her, and he hasn't given up hope. And I'm getting closer, I know I am. And that's another thing, meaning that he knows he's growing from it, I guess. And he's learned from this experience. He's learned valuable lessons from this little story he's been through, and he knows that it'll help him in the future. And then he says, for now it's time to let go. And so that's what happens, is then the album ends with that, and the door opens. And that's I don't want to spoil too much, but it is foreshadowing to some future projects. Yeah, A Flower for You. That's pretty much it. It was definitely an awesome project. I do have a lot of music prepared, and I am excited to show you guys that. It's not gonna be as dreamy, and it's not gonna be as sad. I think you guys are totally gonna like it. That is A Flower for You, and thank you so much. If you're still watching up until this point, that's awesome. I thought some of you guys would appreciate just knowing a little bit more about behind the scenes of A Flower for You, and how it was made. And thank you for listening to my music.